Well, hello. Today we're going to look at combining quilting and embroidery. Anita Shackelford is here to show us how we can draft feather designs and use templates to feather in any space. We'll also talk about auditioning patterns, where you can preview your patterns before you start stitching. So stay tuned. Linda's Longarm Quilting is aired free to you by Gamble Quilting Systems Vision 2. Innovation taken to the next level. My stitch, my vision, my Gamble. If you know me, you know I love to feather. When in doubt, feather. But if you're not used to freehanding your designs, that blank space you want to fill in can be a little intimidating. You may want to do a little planning ahead and design work before you start. And Anita Shackelford is here to share some great tools and methods for doing just that. Welcome, Anita.
Hi, Linda. Thanks. It's a treat to be here.
Well, I feel so honored to have you on the show, a world-famous quilter. And I know you've been quilting for a few years.
37 years.
37 years and only 29. I don't know how you do that. But I know that most of your wonderful award-winning quilts have been hand quilted.
That's right.
You're known for that hand quilting and applique, and I also know that you've done machine quilting. And now I know this is going to be a big announcement here.
I think it will be.
Yes, you've become newly long-arm quilter here.
That's right. Brand new.
Brand new. So. And welcome to the long-arm quilting world.
Thanks. I know I'm going to enjoy this.
That's great. So now you're using all the tools available that we have today.
I think we should, and I'm actually having fun combining hand quilting with machine quilting in the same quilt, using what works best in any situation. So I've got a template here that helps me draw some feather designs, and we'll work with that and draw some things.
Okay.
Get some basic shapes going on. Takes a couple of basic tools. And for a beginning, yes, a ruler is a good one. A pencil is a good one. We'll get a little deeper in a minute. There are several designs that we draw that are based on lines that radiate from the center. They're symmetrical and radiating from a center. And so I like to start with a grid line. And the first one is going to be a horizontal line like this.
Okay.
And then I rotate that ruler, right? And if we're working with any of our standard cutting rulers, they have a grid. We line that up, we can draw our vertical line.
So we get our perpendicular cross lines.
Perpendicular. Okay. So for drawing a basic design like this pinwheel, I'm going to pick a feather. I'm going to set it on that first line. You can see I've already got one in here.
How did you know which feather do you have to?
You know, it really doesn't matter. It depends on the size of the space you have to fill and also the shape. These all have different shapes to them, so I could pick any one.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to set it with the point touching
the center.
And I'm going to draw that first feather.
Okay.
Now before I move that, I want to mark where my positioning lines are. And I can draw right on the tool. That'll erase off later.
Oh, okay.
Then I'm going to rotate that and line up those positioning marks.
Oh.
And let me switch to a pen because I think that'll show better here. And we'll do a second one.
Okay. Rotate
again.
Boy, those marks do come in handy, don't they?
Yeah, the positioning lines.
Reference lines are always good.
So that's going to give me 4 feathers that are
Oh, I see. So you
evenly
don't have to know the
spaced.
number of feathers before you start. You just go ahead and get your basic ones in first.
For a pinwheel, I'll just have 4 like that. So that's a neat shape. And actually, if we rotate that to be in a square, that fits really well.
And that would be easy to quilt, too.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Starting, if you can hit the center every time, you got it made.
That would be a good one for beginners to start with.
That's right. Now, a second shape I like pretty well. I call a rosette. It's feathers again, but with a little center,
with the
like a
circle
little flower center.
Yes.
And that's a Welsh design. See that in Welsh quilts. We're going to do the horizontal line and rotate and do the vertical. Then I might pull in one more tool, the protractor. You remember this from 10th grade or whenever we did that?
Oh, yes.
I'm going to add a line in between, which is my 45.
Okay.
So if I mark a 45 out here, and I do that right here with the protractor, and then I'm going to mark on the same distance on the other side.
And just line that up with your center.
And drawing a line, once we know our angle, we can draw to the center and then
And then
straight out the other
continue.
side, right?
Okay.
It's the same angle on the other side, so we're all set with that. Now I've chosen this time the same number 5 feather.
And you already have
And
your
actually
little...
my guidelines are on there.
Yeah.
Now this one is still touching in the center here.
Okay.
But I'm not going to draw through
Just
my center
to the circle.
Yeah, just touching the
Okay.
circle. Now I want to rotate this counterclockwise. I want to put my center touching again.
Lined it up with your
And
guidelines.
making sure that I'm drawing the full side of the feather, not the concave side. I want the full shape of the feather out
So
here, and I'm
comes over
drawing
there.
that just till it touches
Okay.
the shoulder of the previous one. This feather is one that you'll see in my quilt that I called Hunter's Square,
Oh.
and I used it. It's kind of an English medallion, and so I thought this worked pretty well in that quilt.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Well, when we get these all done, they have kind of a, they're either a Welsh design or a pop 60s flower, one of those flower power things.
But a perfect design
So-
there for...
And because we're marking the angle radiating from the center, the design is evenly spaced. The feathers are evenly spaced around. So here's an example of a pinwheel that I expanded. I did the center one and then I added some
Added some feathers out
behind.
behind with
Yeah.
a different shape. It really gives it kind of a motion there, doesn't
Right,
it?
so we can enlarge it and make it more complex, but based on the same drawing style. This one, a variety of rosettes. We can change the size of the center circle. We can choose feathers that touch, overlap a little bit as they go around, or some of the narrower feathers.
That don't have. And those would be
That's right.
easier to quilt
Those
on the
definitely.
long arm machines anyway.
That's right,
Because you
yeah.
don't have to retrace exactly.
You know, by hand I can do anything.
Yes,
but
I know you can.
on the machine we'd like to not be retracing so much. So, all right. I think a feather wreath, a classic feather wreath, is one we all love,
Oh,
and
we
we should just put
yes.
those every place. Now, what happens here is because the center circle is larger, the feathers are pushed away from the center. We need more feathers.
Oh, okay.
We need more feathers. So I'm working at the 90 degree, the 45, and then I split that
And then
again.
another one.
So on my protractor, that's at 22.5 degrees.
Okay.
And now I want the feather to touch the wreath, of course. So it sits out here. The point of the feather touches the center circle.
Okay.
And I can put that any place.
As long as you
And
put those
mark-
reference lines
Yep,
on
I
there.
need, and sometimes on a wreath it's a good idea to draw
The circle.
a part of the
I
circle.
can see that would be
Yeah.
very helpful.
So again, I'm going to draw the first feather. And I
Okay.
didn't finish it out. I've got dotted lines here because that's where I'm probably going to have an overlap. So again, I'm going to rotate this.
Just go to the next
and,
one.
Yep, just draw those right around the piece.
And-
So we'll see how quickly I can do this. So we have really a classic look there. Now some variations we can do on that might be feathers inside also. That's fun. And again, as I was
This is
saying,
what I see so much of.
oh yeah, these
And
I
this
think
is
we
on
love.
some of the quilts that you brought.
That's
that are-
true. That's true. My Hunter's Square again has actually a double. It has a double feather within a double,
double
feather, and that's right. And so I was
Double, double
drafting really large like this. And then again, if we're looking at machine quilting, we might quilt like this, where we can plan that the feathers will be at a measured degree so that they're separate from each other. I've got another little idea here. I love feathered hearts, and these kind of designs I think are easy because they're symmetrical side to side. We only have to draw half of it. These have no radiating lines. They're really just drawn by eye. And because I can see through the tool, I can just say, I think the next feather belongs there. And then as you work your way up, sort of cross your fingers and hope that
And since you're doing it on paper,
comes
you
out.
can,
That's
you
right.
can redo any time.
Yep. And then I can put one there and just say,
Just connect that.
yep.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
then I wouldn't draw that little part. So then I just fold that in half and trace it to the other side. And so this one I quilted into my quilt that I call Welsh Heart, because a Welsh design
Oh, and
sometimes
it's
has that
gorgeous.
big
Just
curl.
has that flowy look
Yeah.
again.
So you
Beautiful.
can see this is how much I drew,
And then just fold it over
copied it to the other
and
side.
do the other side.
Yeah, so
Works
hearts always
great.
work. Those are exciting.
That's great. How do we get these designs onto our quilt.
We should quilt them.
It's
yes.
fun to do it on
paper.
paper.
That's right. That's right. I've got some fun things in here. You know, in years past, of course, women were working with templates, and they might have. And that is an old one. Yes, that's an old cardboard. I have several of those. I think it's fun to collect those. And of course, those were traced with a pencil, traced right onto the quilt top. This one, an early idea, what we would say now for pouncing, that we would use a perforated pattern. Look at this.
Wow.
We do have another option. We can draw it onto paper first and quilt through. I think it's a good idea, whatever paper pattern you've drawn like this, to keep that, make a copy for your working paper. And of course on this one we'd be quilting through. Yeah, so that's that little rosette, and that's kind of fun.
You could say awfully, you know, you could be pretty accurate really, just going through the paper and then just pull that paper off.
Right, the paper tears away because it's brittle.
There we go.
So I think for machine quilting, that's an easy way to transfer a motif to the quilt. And then of course with the laser light, you know how that's going to work too.
Yes, and I'll show the viewers how easy that is to do. We just bring over the stencil kit, and we move our light over. We have a pattern here. Again, we'll start going around our... This one is a hard one because you have to retrace exactly where you've been.
And it's an asymmetrical design, which fills the space a little differently. This probably would be more of a background filler rather than a block fill.
Yeah.
But it could be drawn to any shape. I love these paisley centers. I think they're so beautiful.
That's an interesting one. Lots of quilting back over where we've been already.
I did give you a big job here.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think the feather designs are so graceful and so appealing, and we're really seeing them everywhere.
Oh, we are.
All the quilts being made today.
Come up here like this.
Yep.
And you know, one of the things that I do, if I'm not perfect with my design, I can go back and enhance and echo and do, you know, all kinds of other wonderful things. So, well, I'll finish this design, but I just want to thank you so much for coming and showing us how you draft these wonderful feathers, and it makes it look so easy. I think any of us can do this.
Step by step, it is really easy.
Yes.
And they can be drawn to fit any space, and it's just exciting work.
And continued success in the world of quilting for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anita shared some great ways for planning before we start quilting, and sometimes you need to do that so you have a clear picture in your mind of what you're going to end up with. Even when you think you know exactly what pattern you want to use, wouldn't it be great to try it out beforehand just to get an idea of what it looks like on the quilt top? Well, here's a way to do just that before you lay down a single stitch. I call it Auditioning Patterns, and it gives you a great preview of your end result. Here's how it works. You just use clear plastic with the pattern drawn on and placed over the quilt top. You can try out where you want your pattern positioned and rotate it into place. Then you can see how the pattern will complement the quilt top. This is not only a good tool for the professional quilter, but it's a great visual aid for working with the person who pieced the top. It lets them understand where you're going and communicate with you better about what they want. It also will result in less trepidation before the quilt is picked up, because they'll know exactly what to expect. Consider keeping both a library of prepared patterns and some blank plastic for making new ones, so you can audition all of your patterns. I've been teaching more than 20 years, and I believe that my left-handed students have had to conform to the right-handed world when it comes to long-arm quilting. Stop! Not anymore. Now with the new Gamma Vision 2, left-handed quilters can easily customize the quilting machine to their own comfort and needs. My stitch, my vision, my Gamma.